I am a futurologist. Well, you're very polite. How can anybody have such a ridiculous job title as futurologist? How can you have an ology or a logic or a science about something as unknowable as the future? It seems to be a sort of oxymoron, doesn't it? Or a contradiction in terms, like military intelligence or European harmony. But the reason that I use such an unusual word to describe what it is that I do is that there is not a good term to describe somebody who studies the trends of the present in an effort to find out the impact they may have on the future. Now, in the United States and North America as a whole, a lot of my colleagues and peers use the term futurist. But I don't think that's ideal either, because to most people, when you say futurist, they think of the Italian art movement of the early 20th century, or it suggests somebody who implicitly believes in the future, and no self-respecting futurologist does that. The term futurologist was coined in 1946 by a German professor who'd lived in the United States, a man called Oscar Fischheim. And Oscar Fischheim developed this word for what he was doing at the time, which was studying the trends just after the Second World War, hoping to find out the sort of future that might be built. That was picked up, this term futurologist, that was picked up by Aldous Huxley a couple of years later, the author of Brave New World and many other fine books about the future. And Huxley described himself as a futurologist. I think perhaps if both men had worked just a little harder on the English language, they might have come up with a term like futurographer, which means essentially somebody who thinks and writes about the future, because that really describes the job, whether the output is in words written down or spoken. A futurologist is somebody who tries to understand how things may intersect. And to be a futurologist, you have to be a generalist. You have to study demographics in the environment and energy and geo-global patterns like globalization. You have to study medical science, computer and information technology, and so on. And you try to weave all these things together to develop plausible scenarios. Now, I've been doing this for over 30 years now, and I'm living in the future I first described in 1980 and afterwards. And of course, it's possible to see what I got wrong and what I got right. But a futurologist is simply somebody who studies the trends in the present in order to try and understand the future.